Welcome everybody to another video recording for the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin's second annual Epilepsy and Wellness Conference. Really excited to be here again this morning. For those that don't know me, you probably do by now since I've obviously been on quite a few of these recordings. But my name is Alicia Gajeski. I'm the program director for the Epilepsy Foundation of Wisconsin. I'm really excited this morning because we have our guest speaker is Tammy Meyer, and she is going to be talking with us about health coaching, a little bit about what is that, what does that term mean. We're also going to talk a little bit about the health models that are out there and some other ways for us to live a healthy lifestyle. So with that, I want to welcome Tammy. Tammy is a national board certified health and wellness coach and has a graduate degree in the biomedical sciences. She enjoys supporting others using her perspective gained in former professional roles as a biomedical scientist and a workplace health and safety officer. Her curious nature and personal navigation through epilepsy management drove her to find a purpose in lifestyle medicine. After undergoing invasive brain surgery, she has been seizure-free for over a decade. We're just going to stop really quick and give you a little bit of applause there. She is an epilepsy advocate, as a featured patient, sharing how proactive healthcare and living a healthy lifestyle can help you manage a chronic condition. She's passionate about balanced nutrition, brain health, and supporting others that want to age well. She believes that healthy living is both an individual and family commitment. Tammy, welcome. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me, Alicia.
Wonderful. So I'm gonna ask you some questions, but we're kind of going to make this a little bit more of a conversation this morning. So let's dive right into it. Let's dive right into the topic. So my first question for you, Tammy, is we're going to start off with kind of a basic question. I think that's really important so people understand what health coaching is. What is a health coach? So what is a national board certified health and wellness coach, and how can they help somebody be healthy?
Yes, it's very interesting because health coaching has been around for quite a while, but its appreciation has been quite hidden.
Mm-hmm.
But the transfer of interest into lifestyle medicine in more recent years, appreciating how people's behaviors can really impact their health, has shifted awareness to having individuals that can guide them on that lifestyle change journey. And just like medical doctors have standards that need to be met, the National Board of Medical Examiners,
Mm-hmm.
that board has partnered with the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching to define quality standards for health and wellness coaches. That includes specific training requirements, education, and really overall assessment standards. So having that board certification really made the field have the professional needs and really kind of sets the stage as them as a partner of the allied healthcare profession. And that was an important way to really make it so that it was formalized and appreciated. What's interesting and important, just like physicians, we're required to have continuing education to maintain this credential. So there's continuous learning so that we can best serve our clients. And then there is data that's been collected for many years prior to the board certification initiation up until now and definitely into the future, where there's definitive evidence of its success in a wide varieties of applications. So it's pretty exciting. If I were to say what a health coach was kind of in big picture, we're partners with clients on their self-discovery journey. It's kind of amazing because you focus on your lifestyle and the behavioral changes, but it's important that you take a step back and reflect on your internal strengths, not just your external resources. So we look at both of those, and that kind of builds self-efficacy, that you have a belief for change, and that's when we're ready to really go ahead and start to find out where to focus and plan. And that's where the action happens.
That's really great. Thank you very much. I think that's a great way to explain, what it is that you do and health coaches do. So thank you. So Tammy, let's talk a little bit about health coaching and how it is coming into the healthcare system a little bit. So how is health and wellness coaching emerging into healthcare?
Yes, it's definitely going to be a exciting couple of years as we move into the next year because we are going to see health coaches integrated into the system much more effectively and comprehensively. The traditional or conventional way medicine has been throughout the history really is
Mhm.
kind of doctor centered. They're very expert. They're professionally credentialed. They're able to diagnose conditions, help manage chronic conditions. Very important tasks. But the concern is they don't really have much time to move into how would you apply those things? How do
Mhm.
you really try to figure out what to do when you're not in the doctor's office?
Right.
It sounds kind of simple, but it's quite hard when you try to start really applying it.
Mhm.
Generally, what the doctor focuses on are pills. So you might get prescriptions or supplements
Mhm.
or procedures. They might find you need some tests done or even surgery. Those have value.
Mhm.
But imagine if your doctor would prescribe that you see a health and wellness coach where you have active participation in
Mhm.
your journey because it's more passive when you're with your doctor and that positive impact you can have on yourself when you feel that active uh, part of the process really can lead to the prevention of chronic disease or at least better management or lessening of the impact of the existing chronic disease. I want to make sure that people appreciate that there is a model where it's called pills skills model.
Mhm.
It's not that the skills of lifestyle can replace necessarily pills. Medications have their place.
Mhm.
For example, type 1 diabetes, they don't produce insulin, so they need it as a um, externally. In epilepsy, you have uncontrolled seizures, perhaps. That's something that there's fabulous medications available that can resolve that for many people. And unfortunate when you get cancer, we've had developments where there are distinct uh, different agents out there that can put that at bay, and
Mhm.
those have their place. But what's really amazing is the lifestyle changes, they have universal impact. So whether or not you need the pills, all of us can have the skills, and those skills can have amazing effects. Either one requires compliance and
Mhm.
it requires implementation, and the combination of those can be challenging. That's where a health and wellness coach, that partnership can really help you navigate the waters in the behavioral change journey.
Right. So really getting to that core, you said, lifestyle changes, really getting to that core can really help. So like, what is the problem? What can we work on? I think that's really important. And I like how you kind of explain the two different sides of that. So thank you very much.
Mhm.
So Tammy, you talked a little bit about a health coach kind of being more available compared to someone's doctor where they maybe only see them, whatever the schedule is, once every 6 months or whatever it is. So that is, to me, that could be a benefit maybe. So what are some benefits of working with a national board certified health and wellness coach? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Absolutely. As we've discussed so far, their health and wellness coaches are becoming an allied health professional. They're being integrated into healthcare as part of the team. And one of the gaps that needed to be filled was helping that person once they leave the physician's office or other medical professional, how to then on their own use their resources and information and put it into action in their life.
Mhm.
And that can be overwhelming. There are so many possibilities.
Right.
When you're seeing your doctor, very valuable. You only generally get, if you're lucky, an hour,
Yeah.
and generally once or a couple times a year. You're living your life a whole year.
Hmm.
They have limited time availability. Integration and health and wellness coaches is where you're able to bring in more time. That role is designed to have frequent contact with individuals during their behavioral change journey. And that could be weekly meetings, bi-weekly or monthly meetings where it's face to face, whether it be in person or virtually. And then, of course, there's the technology communication through apps or text
Hmm.
messaging, and that can be readily done frequently. you always have access to that personalized health and wellness coaching. And that can make the difference when the time where you have all those changes that are possible, but you're not quite sure how to do it. And that kind of rolls into a second benefit of the health and wellness coach. They're a source of trusted information. There's so much out there. You might be able to look online, get lots of information, but if you look long enough, you'll probably find some contradictory information.
Mhm.
Then you're wondering, which one is right? Which one should I follow? And then, of course, you have your social connections. They might be doing their own things and share their ideas.
Mhm.
But of course, they might be biased. They might be right for them, but they might not be associated with what you value. So
Mhm.
then they aren't very useful to you. So health coaches can help weed through the information and find out how you can apply it based on what you value. And that helps you kind of sort through the options, all those opinions,
Mhm.
all the uncertainty in a way that makes it so action can proceed, because getting caught up in all those details can actually stall action or even make it so you don't act at all. And then health coaches themselves are professionals in the behavioral change process. So integrating all that information, using the tools and knowledge that the person discovers about themselves in this journey, that allows them to then proceed forward in ways that would be useful as they would try to make behavioral change.
Tammy, you talked a lot about, there's so much information out there. There's, of course, so much information online, social media in general, right? TV, books, whatever it may be, but there is a ton of information out there. And I know we talked before we sat down and we talked a little bit about some of the different models that are out there. And I know that there's one that you specifically follow and believe in. So I'm kind of hoping you can go through a little bit of what those models are that are out there, and then talk a little bit about what you like to focus on. I would be interested in hearing about that.
Okay, yes, you're right, Alicia. There is so much information out there. What is very useful and would make sense is there is overlap between the models. They're different
Mhm.
perspectives that some have the same goal, but it is also interesting that they often pinpoint specific differences, and you'll appreciate why once I kind of share some of that with you. I guess I thought I'd start with the National Wellness Institute.
Okay.
They focus on some big key pillars of health, as you imagine: physical health, emotional health, social health, the connections you have, the relationships, spiritual health, which a lot of times people focus that on faith or ethics, but it also could just be referring to how you want to have life satisfaction, intellectual wellness, so really challenging yourself with what you do day to day.
Mhm.
And they also have occupational health. That's often where we get one of our purposes in life, where we find meaning. And
Mhm.
that can be a big part of our day. We spend a lot of time at work. So
Yeah.
that's their model. There are a lot of associations or foundations that I wanted to share because they really fine tune some distinct differences because of what they focus on.
Mhm.
So I'll start with the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So of course they're going to focus on key lifestyle factors, but they get a little bit more specific, and they focus on aspects that you might appreciate: nutrition, physical activity, dealing with managing stress, having good quality sleep, having good social connections. There's a lot of evidence about how important that is for our well-being. Their last pillar focuses on something that you should avoid: smoking or drinking excessively. So they have something where they encourage you to limit.
Mhm.
But there's different associations then that take their own kind of perspective based on what those associations stand for. I thought I'd start with the American Heart Association, of course, connected with cardiovascular disease. They have some of the same components as you imagine: nutrition, physical activity, and they have the importance of sleep. But
Mhm.
what then they kind of shift off to are biomarkers, because there are certain aspects that are directly linked with cardiovascular disease. So in their model, they point out having good blood pressure or having a good cholesterol profile, low blood sugar, and watching your weight. So those aspects kind of key on to what maybe we can do to control those factors and keep them in the normal range. And similar to the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, they also mention not smoking, which is associated with cardiovascular risk.
Yeah.
American Diabetes Association uses the high blood sugar or the blood sugar level as a key indicator, understandably, because that's what's the source of the risk there. Then the Epilepsy Foundation, this community would be interested in, they have a wide spectrum of aspects that are quite fascinating. Beyond nutrition and exercise, they have sleep and stress, socialization, the connections that you have, emotional wellness, focusing on making sure you can get educated, so that can help with decision making, and employment. So one of the ways that you are able to live a fulfilling life is having the ability to be employed and also independent. That's another pillar that is important, because there are often some perceived limitations, and in some cases there are, but there are lots of people that have controlled seizures with medicine and can do anything really. If there are some active seizures, there are some precautions that can be taken, and people aware can know what's normal for you so they can react. Set yourself up with a good environment and a good attitude.
Nice.
So if we want to roll then into my perspective on wellness, it contains the components of all these, but I kind of have modeled it with my clients as being healthy for life. So nutrition and exercise are important pillars and often focuses of goals. But I also like to highlight the 4 S's because they're so important, but yet underappreciated. So quality sleep, that's been shown to be just as important as what we eat and the activity we have day to day. And stress management. There's good stress and bad stress. You need to find the amount of stress, the ability to hit goals makes you have to embrace discomfort. That's a little stress.
Yeah.
It has to be manageable. And the 4th one is the social connection, having the network of people that can support you along your journey and have a fulfilling life. Then moving into some E's. So I have 3 E's. Emotional wellness. So I mentioned embracing discomfort. You want to have a feeling of control in your life, but it's inevitable that there's going to be discomfort and you're going to have to deal with that and make it so that it works for you and not against you. Employment, occupational wellness is very important. It gives you a sense of purpose and it connects with your intellectual needs. Challenge yourself and feel like you're making a difference. And last one, I term mind. And that's because it combines some important factors beyond just intellectual wellness. So we want to keep our mind active, because actually one additional model that I'm connecting with that would be the Institute of Aging, because we often have concerns of dementia and things as we age. So they heighten awareness on our mind, our health of our brain. So I like to have that focus. But when you think of mind, you also think of mindset, your attitude. And whenever you're dealing with your health and lifestyle, that positive mindset is crucial because it lets you move forward in all of the dimensions, no matter which one you're focusing on and what stage you're at on them. And the process, when you work with a national board certified health and wellness coach, works through that with having the positive mindset and helps you discover what's important to you in a mindful way.
That's really great.
I guess that's kind of how I share my vision of wellness, which is consistent with the models out there, but kind of takes a little twist that I personally like to share.
Yeah, and I can tell because you get, when you talk about it, and I think I've told you this before, you get very excited about it, and I think that's great. You're very passionate about what you do. And I also just want to say, yes, you mentioned that some of these follow some of the similar aspects, and I heard sleep quite a bit. I heard stress. What else did I hear? Nutrition a little bit. So like you said, some have very similar components, some are different. And I think that's great that there's so many different options out there, and including yours. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important for people to know that yes, there is a bunch of information out there, like we mentioned, but there are specific models that you, depending, what situation you're in, that you can use if needed. So thank you. Tammy, let's talk a little bit about the average person. So what does health and wellness mean to the average person?
Well, similar to the models that we discussed, there's a lot of similarities, some distinctions based on perhaps what their unique circumstances are. In the continuum of wellness, you can think of it as you have some illness where you might have signs or symptoms of disease, but you also have the opportunity to grow. And the neutral point might be where you are relieved from those signs and symptoms, but you don't want to end there. When you proceed to a higher level of wellness, that's where you feel like you're at the highest level, or you have your well-being. That's where you have the life satisfaction. That's where you feel like you're in the flow, where you're challenged at just the right rate, not too much, not too little. And you have just the ability to grow, and using that information and the helping relationship of a board certified health and wellness coach to really lead to that high level of wellness. So combination of you want to be healthy as far as free from disease or concerns, but you also want to go much farther, because it's okay to be well, but let's be satisfied with our life in a way that we feel like we're reaching our full potential.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's wonderful. So living a healthy life, easier said than done, right? I mean, we kind of talked about that. So Tammy, how can the average person find focus, make a plan, put lifestyle changes into action? What are some ways? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the way I like to approach this with the client is to invite them to think about what they struggle with. We talked about all the different factors of wellness, and day-to-day life, those are actually present. So we inevitably struggle probably with all of them at times, but maybe decide on one to focus, maybe the one they're most ready or need to change in. And then keep that in mind when they imagine changing. If they would change on their own, say they would come out of the doctor's office with ideas, they know what they need to do. Then they start weeding through all that information and they're thinking, wow, I'm not sure how to do it. There's options, but then again, you might stall because you're overwhelmed with information. You might not be able to find a focus. And then when you're starting your journey to try a few things, you might get discouraged because you don't see progress. You try many things and they don't seem to work. That makes you frustrated. If you would work with a board certified health and wellness coach, how might that experience be different? Well, when you're working with a professional that's trained in behavioral change, they know how to make sure that you have a self-discovery period. Don't just jump into the information and goals, because that's actually where the magic happens. You reflect on what you need and how it's associated with what you value. Because if you really value something, that's going to make you more likely and compelled to make a difference in that. And you can do that by frequent analysis with a health coach. You have that extra time with the behavioral change expert. They personalize the process. So there's not just one way of doing things. Each individual has their unique needs, unique values. So you kind of listen to them, not with judgment, because it's what they feel is important. And you try to then help them appreciate what kind of strengths they have that have made them successful in the past. There's nothing like success to lead to more success. All of us have our strengths. So when you think about that and reflect on it, you get into that positive mindset. It makes you appreciate that you have the ability to change. You just might have forgotten that. You rediscover that self-efficacy. And inevitably, during the change process, you're going to set up ideas. I like to call them experiments. because an experiment, just like any scientist, you
Mhm.
have a goal, you try something, but it might not work, or it might not be what you end up really finding to be something you like or something sustainable. So you can take the experimental mindset, but know that when you have to go back and redesign or choose a different idea, that learning process is success in itself. You eliminate things that don't work for you. And in addition to your internal strengths, we discuss external resources that are beneficial in the process. If you have things in home, if you have the helping relationships, all those little things that might help with the process, keep you on track. Again, there's going to be setbacks. That's normal. And sometimes people get discouraged there.
Mhm.
So I remind them that it's normal and that learning process is success. They have to embrace that discomfort, face the fear of the unknown. They're not sure it's going to work. They
Yeah.
know it's worked for someone else. You can try it and see if it works for you, and you can keep trying until you find that perfect match. So the health and wellness coach can really help with the implementation, because all that information is great, but
Mhm.
unless it's really put together, planned out, and really put and implemented, that's where you do see results. And when you have that frequent contact with the coach, that's where you get that reinforcement. You get motivated because you know you're going to meet with that coach in a week. You want to
Mhm.
demonstrate that you made some progress on your goal,
Yeah.
which you want to make specific and something you can measure. So you know if you're making progress or need to make adjustments.
Mhm.
And that coach provides that source of accountability. If you make it public, if someone knows what you're doing and going with you on that journey so that you do continue with the goals you set and the benchmarks, they'll help you feel compelled to continue with that in a timely way. At the same time, coaches aren't always going to be there. They really need to work together to find ways that each client can self monitor themselves,
Mhm.
keep track of how is the goal going? Are they perhaps keeping a journal or deciding on exactly what benchmarks they want to hit? Are they finding ways to self regulate? If they do have some bumps in the road, can they make adjustments right in the moment? Or do they struggle with that? And then we discuss on ways that they can start doing that. So
Mhm.
it's a continuous process. There really isn't an end. It's again using that growth mindset and having that partner along in the journey really makes it much more powerful as you really try to navigate that uncertainty and discomfort that is integral to success with behavioral change.
Here, I think that is a really great way to wrap up our conversation because, we went through a bunch of information, but really in the end, it's not just the health coach, right? They're there to help you, of course, but it's also the individual. They have to want to change and it's scary. It can be challenging, as you mentioned, but they have to want to continue forward. And if there is a goal that maybe isn't met to what they were hoping for, like you said, go back, reevaluate, right, and move on. That's really important, and I think you did a great job explaining some of the benefits and really what a health coach is. Tammy? Thank you so much for your time today. This was really wonderful to hear, more about what a health coach is, what you do, some of the benefits, and really highlight some of those models and the model that you follow. I think you did wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. I know we appreciate you being a part of the conference this year. So thank you very, very much. Is there any way of people to get a hold of you if they have any questions or just simply want to get in touch with you?
Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this wellness
Yeah.
conference. It was my pleasure. I do appreciate the opportunity. Health and wellness coaching is really an emerging field, and I'm very active on LinkedIn, share lots of tips and strategies. So I encourage anybody that would be interested in learning more about different aspects of health and wellness to go ahead and look at that profile. And my email address is provided in the information with the
Yeah.
conference.
Yes, we will provide that in the info sheet that everybody gets. All right. Well, Tammy, thank you so much again. And I hope everybody who is watching this has a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.